Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TGIF edition of Winners and Whiners Radio. I am your host, Scott Steehn, lead handicapper at winnersandwhiners.com.
And I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, senior handicapper over winnersandwhiners.com.
And together, we make up Winners and Whiners Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you the winners. Special show today. We have the one and only Chris King stopping by from winnersandwhiners.com. Give us a breakdown really on everything, Scott. We're going to talk a little baseball, talk a little college, talk a little NFL. It's going to be a beautiful thing. This is a great time of the year, man. And pretty soon the NBA will fire up. Hockey will get going for the regular season. It's the Big Five, brother. Are you ready?
I think hockey's a week away.
Yep. And NBA win. They
NBA, I believe, is 2 to 3 weeks away.
I guess somewhere around the 20th that week, somewhere in there. So yeah, that'll be good. And all joking aside, it is the time to find inefficiencies in the line, Scott, because even with technology, bookmakers have a hard time keeping up with 5 or 6 when college ball starts, major sports. So it will always look for those inefficiencies in the lines. And of course, we'll be bringing those to you as we find them. But we got a lot to get to today, guys. No time for dilly-dallying. We're going to get right to it. We're going to find out who did well. By the way, Scott, how'd you do yesterday?
I did really well. I didn't lose a single thing. You?
Same way. 4-0, brother. We had both premiums. We had the team total over for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and we also had the Los Angeles Rams to cover the 2. As far as my play of the day on the video, we have the Rams and Seattle Seahawks under 54.5. And, of course, you and I, we'll talk about our Bet the Farm play a little bit later. Spoiler alert, you might want to expand your coverage, your crop insurance, because you got more farm. So,
yep.
All right, with that being said, let's find out, Scott, maybe there's some folks out there who didn't have as good a day as we did. Maybe they're listening to us and they're gritting their teeth and they're throwing things at the computer, the radio, the TV, whatever they're watching us on. Because why? They got ripped off, Scott. And when you get ripped off, there's only one thing you can do. You got to call the cops, man. Pull over, son. Pull over. Scott, you ever got a speeding ticket?
I have not.
Never got a speeding ticket?
Never did.
You ever been pulled over?
No.
No kidding?
I don't drive that frequently.
Right.
So.
And you were did you drive when you were in college?
In college, no, because I was out of state. But I did drive during the summers when I got back because I was working during the summer.
Okay, very good. But you keep it under speed limit, nice and conservative.
At least the cops didn't catch me when I was speeding.
They didn't catch you. Very good. All right, Scott. Well, if you head to Coastal Carolina, first half team total under 23.5, well, obviously you weren't listening to the show because you shouldn't have played that. But you know what? You're looking like you might have got the win. And it all came about from that 4th and 1 where they decided to kick a field goal instead of go for the touchdown. So you're right on track, Scott. They had 17 points with 4 minutes left in the second quarter. Oh, yeah, all we need is Arkansas State just to D up. That could go wrong there, buddy. 7-play drive. That's what could go wrong. Scored a touchdown with 13 seconds left. They finished the first half with 24. Yes, everybody was sweating that extra point, and it went through. If you had Coastal Carolina team total under 23.5 in the first half, sorry, Charlie, you got to call the cops.
And the second one's going to be in baseball between the Astros and the White Sox. If you had the over 7.5 runs, you were in good shape because you had 6 runs in the first 5 innings.
Wow.
And then both bullpens were dealing, and the game ended 6-1.
Bummer. Did we see him?
We might have. I doubt it because they were losing. I know Ronaldo Lopez pitched a couple innings.
Oh,
I'm guessing the White Sox saved most of their quality relievers, so you had the B and the C staff in there. Didn't really matter because Houston scored a lot early and decided it'll take them 20 innings to score 5 runs.
Time to coast. Yeah, the White Sox were probably bummed out they didn't put Keuchel on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a perfect spot for Dallas Keuchel down 5 runs in the 6th inning.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it ends up 6-1, Scott. That's not good. Not good. You had the over. You're locked, buddy. You're 6 runs halfway through. Come on.
You thought Houston might score 9 runs by themselves.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And finally, we'll finish it up with a little NBA preseason. If you had the Grizzlies Hornets second half, good God, go to a meeting.
I was digging for this one.
Over 110.5. Oh, man. You were in good shape because they were at 108 with about 2 minutes left, Scott. You got to figure you're golden, right?
I
Nope.
got to feel close to it.
You put up 2 points in the final minute 56. The game lands 110. Not a foul, nothing, not a three-pointer at the buzzer.
Grizzlies were up 30. You didn't have any ridiculous. It seemed like they were just dribbling the clock out, but the half landed 110. You lose by a half on 2 points in the final minute.
That's brutal.
That's brutal. Yeah.
Okay, so that is obscure. A second half preseason NBA play is
But it's
very
there.
obscure. But
somebody had it. Somebody had it.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Somebody had that beat. So for you listening to the show, watching the video, sorry, you got to call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the opposite. The people that were on the right side, Scott, these are the nice, easy winners. You know what? You and I might have had a couple of these, but you guys know who you are because you are out there sitting in the rocking chair, baby.
So the first one was in the NFL. If you had a player prop with Robert Woods over 59.5 receiving yards, you didn't have to wait too long because he had 67 in the first half, and you decided, well, if I've already got 67, might as well go for 150.
Yep. That's what he finished with, by the way.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
150. Very good. And if you had the Grizzlies minus 1.5 as they took on the Hornets, I believe we just talked about this game, right? They led by 30 points at halftime. And, yeah, no stories to tell, Scott. They win by 30. Congratulations. You were in the rocking chair. No sweat on that one.
And the last one was the Rams and Seahawks first half. If you had the under 26.5, you were in pretty good shape because you had 0 points in the first quarter. And it ended up being 7-3 at halftime.
Well, in fairness, it could have been 3 points more.
It could have. They shanked the field goal at the end, but yeah, the full game under would have been in consideration, but then you randomly had a track meet that broke out in the third and fourth quarter. But the first half was just some hideous fourth down play calling. Really just a bad job from the coaches all around, but good for the under.
Well, and I can tell you, as somebody that had the full game under, Scott, I wasn't sweating it too much at the end, regardless of what a track meet it became.
I meant potential overtime draw, etc.
Yeah, no, none of that was happening.
Okay.
Once they kept it at 2 points, that's a beautiful thing.
I'd say it should have been a sweat free, but Gay kept kicking the ball out of bounds.
What a weird thing, huh?
What is that? Twice he did that?
Yeah, he did it twice.
He missed an extra point and he kicked it out of bounds twice.
You're, it's lucky that I thought that extra point was going to screw us because we were -2.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to hate that kid, but he ended up being all right. So, well, we had a couple contenders for this. The place kicker certainly was on the list, but I believe we have come on with the right person for the job, Scott. Let's find out who's wearing the golden feed bag today as we award the Friday edition of Donkey of the Day. All right, Scott, we're going to start with a trivia question. We'll test your sporting knowledge. What team in the major leagues has the highest average against the fastball? Any idea?
Is it the Houston Astros?
It is the Houston Astros. The boys from Texas hit 290 against fastballs this season. That led the majors. Congratulations. So, Scott, if you're Tony La Russa, you're sending a pitcher out, what do you want to tell your pitcher to maybe kind of keep an eye on, not necessarily stay away from, because it's still going to be your go-to pitch, but what do you really want to mix it up, right?
Lean a little bit more on the off-speed stuff.
Lean a little more on the off-speed stuff with Lance Lynn. So Lance Lynn went out, threw 76 pitches. Scott, how many fastballs do you think he threw out of 76 pitches?
Well, you'd hope, based on the numbers, he probably threw around half that.
Yeah, 45, 50 tops.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Can I interest you in 74 of the 76 pitches were fastballs?
Now, we don't know, for the record, if Lynn was constantly shaking off Grandal behind the plate.
Right.
But that had to be somewhere in the scouting report that they hit fastballs well, and somehow he threw his fastball at about 97% of your pitches.
If that's not in the scouting report, then the scouting department needs to be the donkey of the day, and they all need to be fired. I would think that'd be a pretty relevant piece of information as you send your pitcher out there. I don't get it. And like you said, total disclosure, neither one of us watched this game. We had football up. I've only got so many screens.
It was a day game. I was working for the entire day.
I was working as well, and I watched it on the computer. I kept an eye on the score, but I didn't know this until after we'd seen this, and it's incredible. So I don't know. Usually, especially a veteran pitcher, he's calling his own game at that point. He's just the catcher's just putting out signs so they're on the same page. The catcher's not really calling the game with Lance Lynn. So I'm going to put this 95% on Lance Lynn.
I'm assuming so, because worst case he could always shake off the catcher if he gives him a bad sign.
Right. Yeah. It's like, hey, Grandal, you remember that they hit fastballs, so maybe not throw those so much. So I don't know, bud. I mean, usually there's sometimes as a pitcher, they say you're really on about 15% of the time, you're really off about 15% of the time, and it's the 70% in the middle where you earn your money, whether you could pitch through it if you don't have your best stuff. So there's going to be days when you go out there and your breaking pitch just isn't working. You can't spot it. You can't get it over. But do you really have any answers about what any off-speed stuff does if you only throw 2 of them?
It's a good question. Odds are no.
I mean, he threw a curve in the first one. Oh, yeah, that's not working. And then threw another one in the fourth. Yep, still not working. I don't know. It's incredibly stupid. It'd be a great story if somehow the plucky pitcher was able to mow down the mighty fastball hitting Astros. Yeah, that's not what happened. Astros just mashed Lance Lynn. I think he gave up 5 earned and 4 1/3. Is that right?
Yeah, he got shelled.
Yeah, absolutely lit up. So congratulations, Lance Lynn. Not only did you get an early shower, when you got out, you open up your locker, you see the golden feed bag. It's hanging right there. Put it on, buddy, because you're the donkey of the day.
Yep.
All right. Very good, Scott. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come right back. And we're going to talk to Chris King, everybody. Guys, stay tuned. We're back on the other side. All right, guys. As promised, we have Chris King from winnersandwhiners.com. Chris, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Scott. Sounds like your sound died, but that's all right.
There we go. That's right. That's right. It's the regal. It's the king. The king of sports betting is here. How's your week going? Pretty good?
I can't complain, Going against Clemson and watching them struggle against Boston College last week made it all worthwhile.
I had the same play, so that was a lot of fun.
Yep, we were all over college in that situation. Clemson. How did everybody miss Clemson so badly, Chris?
I think it boils down to everybody thought that DJ Uiagalelei, because he threw for 400 yards against Notre Dame last year, that he was going to be the savior. But they forget the fact that they don't have Travis Etienne, they don't have Lynn J. Dixon. They're playing with a bunch of third-string running backs and freshmen. The defense has been good, but if you don't score any points, it doesn't matter. And they are just abysmal on offense.
Yeah, that is really surprising. I guess it's just assumed they're going to be one of those plug-and-play schools. Like Alabama, they just bring in a brand-new quarterback. He's fine, Heisman Trophy favorite, et cetera, et cetera. That wasn't quite the case with DJ Uiagalelei, right?
Yeah, we'll just call him Biff.
Very nice. Well, we're not going to have to talk about them much more because they're pretty much out of the national championship conversation. Scott, before we get rolling, Chris, before we get rolling, if you had to pick 4 for the playoffs, who you got?
Well, obviously the top 2 are going to be the top 2 teams in the nation. You can't argue with Alabama, especially with the beatdown that they put on Ole Miss last week. I mean, we talked about it last week. I was worried about Matt Corral going on the road because he hadn't played a true road game all season. And I don't know what Lane Kiffin was doing. Apparently he thought that he had Kevin Kelly's playbook and decided to go for it on 4th down in his own territory.
Well, your genius works. Yep.
Then you've got Georgia. I mean, we saw them just crush Arkansas. I don't know if Arkansas is a pretender now or if we should take something from it that Georgia's defense is just that bad or that brutal as far as shutting teams down. I thought Oregon was going to be good, and then we saw what happened last week. Typical Pac-12, where you can't keep an unbeaten team past week 5. So I think we can pretty much write them out. it's going to come down to, you got the big game this week with Penn State and Iowa, and that's going to be a big determining factor in what comes out of the Big Ten. And I think now that Ohio State has turned things around, they've got a good chance at running the table and getting into the CFP.
Oh,
what do
great.
you think, Scott?
That's great news. That's what I want to hear. I hopefully get Ohio State back because I can't.
Well, I didn't say I wanted them back. I'm just saying that if you look at the way that things have gone,
you're right.
Because now their marquee loss to Oregon has been diluted a little bit because Oregon just lost to Stanford.
Better defense, Iowa or Georgia?
Boy, that's tough. I mean, Georgia has just shut teams down. I mean, they stifled Clemson, which at the time we thought was a big deal.
Right.
But obviously now we know it wasn't. But they made Arkansas look like a junior varsity team last week. And we've seen Arkansas.
I'm taking Georgia.
Team. No.
Yeah.
Georgia
out of those two.
Okay. All right, very good.
I think you'd have to. I mean, Iowa's good, but how long can they rely solely on the defense? I mean, they had an offensive showing last week, but
I just think Georgia's better athletes, so I just think they have the better defense.
All right, so we've got the default winner of the Big Ten. By the way, don't fall asleep on Michigan. Just saying.
They're only laying 3.5 against Nebraska this weekend.
I'm aware.
It's a fun time.
Don't fall asleep on Michigan until November, right? When they face Ohio State.
We're gonna find out. I think this is probably Harbaugh's best chance at a victory in 5 years, 6 years.
It means they'll lose by 7 to 14 points, but they might keep it close for 3 quarters.
What's the look ahead line on that? Ohio State by 7.5, 8.5?
I got to assume it's somewhere around there. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
But
all right, so who's the 4th team, Chris?
Like I said, I think it's gonna
got your de facto Big Ten winner. Okay, we'll give you that. The 2 from the SEC, sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be whoever comes out. It might be the other Big Ten team. It could be Penn State or Iowa.
Oh God,
because right now the Big 12 is terrible.
Well,
the ACC is terrible.
It's just not right now. It's last year, year before, next year.
True.
Yes,
and the Pac-12, you can throw them out by the time September is over.
Sure. Let's do it.
So unless Cincinnati can remain unbeaten, which is a big if.
Yeah.
And even then, will somebody consider taking a non-Power 5 team and stick them in a 4-team playoff? And I'm not convinced that the way they do these rankings that's going to happen.
Scott, what do you think? Is he right? Is this the year that one of the group of 5 schools sneaks in?
I think the stars are aligning for this to actually happen, where a couple of the Power 5 schools just simply put, or Power 5 conferences aren't as good as they usually are. So I do think that with the ACC and the Pac-12 basically being eliminated at this point in time, you actually do have a shot at a group of 5 school. You still need a couple of things to go your way, though. You need a couple of Big Ten teams to cannibalize themselves. You need Oklahoma to lose, obviously, at some point. I know Oklahoma stinks based on what we've seen with Rattler. They are still undefeated in a survive and advance type of philosophy they got going right now. So Oklahoma still actually needs to lose a game at some point in order for Cincinnati to get in. But I'm really rooting for Cincinnati. They got the great win at Notre Dame last week. People were arguing they don't play any other ranked teams moving forward. Those people were stupid because SMU was clearly about to be ranked because they were undefeated anyway.
They're ranked right now, 24.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if Navy can beat them this weekend. We'll see about that. But the point is that Cincinnati should run the table. But the question is, if their only ranked team victory after the Notre Dame game is SMU, is that enough to really get you in? Because Central Florida's underachieved up to this point. So I don't know if the schedule is tough enough for Cincinnati. What?
A bad loss to Navy.
It wasn't good, but I'm saying with Gabriel with a broken clavicle, I don't think UCF's going to be that good. So the rest of the conference in the AC, besides SMU, I don't know if the strength of competition is going to be strong enough to push Cincinnati in over a 1-loss Oregon or a 1-loss Oklahoma. I don't really know. But those Big Ten teams, I don't think you're going to get 2 in from the conference. I think you'll get 1 in. And I think the other one will be either Oklahoma, Cincinnati, or something. But I don't see 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams getting in a 4-team playoff. I just don't see that.
I'm not sold on Oklahoma. I know nobody else is either. But when you keep winning these games by 1 possession, and you give up big plays like Kansas State with that 100-yard kickoff return after you went ahead by 13 to make it a 6-point game, Oklahoma is eventually going to shoot themselves in the foot. It may not happen this week against Texas, but it's coming.
I didn't say that they were going to run the table. I'm just saying since they, as of right now, are still undefeated no matter how badly they're playing, the committee's taking an undefeated Oklahoma team.
I don't know that that's right. They haven't played anybody. They haven't played a ranked team yet, and they've won like you said. They've beat everybody by single digits.
I'm just saying they've taken Oklahoma every year with one loss. If they don't lose a game, they're guaranteed to go in. It's the way.
But
it
if
is.
they get in, then we're going to watch them lose 55-7, and people are going to be like,
I don't want
"Why
them
did
in.
Oklahoma get in?"
I don't want them in.
favorite?
But if they're undefeated,
play Cincinnati. Are they a favorite?
That's a good question.
I don't.
I think they would be solely based on
Cincinnati's
athletes.
2.5 point favorite.
I think they would because of Power 5 bias, but I think it would be around a field goal.
And I would take Cincinnati on that.
Yeah,
all day
I
long.
just don't believe a Power 5 team like Oklahoma would be a betting underdog to a group of 5. They arguably should be. I just don't think the markets would set it that way.
So if we see Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma, is it just time to burn it all down?
I think it was already time to burn it all down.
Agreed. Okay.
Yeah, I think they should have expanded at this point. I mean, they're all worried about how it could water things down and everything. I think it would make it more competitive because you get some of these teams in there that obviously should be considered. Coastal Carolina was a prime example last season. But would they end up ranked 12th, 13th, something like that?
Right. Well, they ended up losing to Liberty in the final game, right?
Well, but Liberty was no slouch last year either.
That was in the bowl. That was in the bowl
Liberty
game. They
The
beat
bowl game. Yeah,
they
no, I
beat
know.
Troy
Yes.
barely, and then they had COVID, so they had to not play the conference title game.
Was that the deal?
Yeah, against Louisiana, they had the COVID issue, so they couldn't play the conference title.
Well, they beat BYU. That was their big signature victory there on
Yeah, BYU was 1 yard short.
short rest. Might as well be 100, Scott.
I'm just saying it was a hell of a game.
Tell that to Kevin Dyson.
Yeah, good point. That was a great game. All right, so let's start it off. We got baseball, buddy. We've got a little baseball. We're yakking about the pigskin, but it's baseball playoffs time. We saw I was going to say a couple good games. We didn't. We saw one good game, and then
1 out of 2.
we saw the Yankees. I don't know. Forget to get off the bus. Just a dreadful performance all the way around there. So going forward, we've got a couple of rematches. We've got a couple of divisional rematches because they don't reseed, as Scott so eloquently put it out yesterday. But Giants, Dodgers, I guess that's the one everybody's talking about. Chris, how do you make that one?
I think that there's no way that this series doesn't go 5 games. I mean, those teams are so evenly matched, like we were talking about earlier. The Dodgers from April 1st on were 43-13 and only made up 2 games on the Giants. How can you have 2 teams win 106 and 107 games and play in a divisional series for the right to play some subpar team in the championship series? Because you know whoever is going to win is going to steamroll Atlanta or Milwaukee.
I got to assume so.
Milwaukee should have just nailed it in after Devin Williams decided to punch his wall. But
Ridiculous. So you've got the Dodgers. Let's start there. You've got the Dodgers in the series at -160.
Wait, that's way too much right there.
Yeah, that's too steep, especially with no Kershaw and no Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, how do you not just blindly take the 7-5 money on the Giants there?
That's also not including Scherzer having to wait until most likely game 3 to pitch.
Right, and the fact that he struggled yesterday with only getting 13 outs.
But yeah, you got Urias, who is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Urias guy. But besides him, who else are you going to end up using? You're going to use Gonsolin for game 2?
Well,
I think Urias is starting game 2. Game 1, I think, was supposed to be Walker Buehler on full rest.
Okay,
okay.
You
got Buehler, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So then you're probably going to use Scherzer for 3.
Yep.
Right.
And then Gonsolin for 4, or you wrap it around for a 3-day rest in there. Then again, of course, we know that Los Angeles has the better rotation. I just think the Giants, when they've matched up head-to-head in the regular season, the Giants held their own. I'm expecting a bunch of low-scoring games that'll come down to the wire, and we'll see how it works out. But I agree with the King. I'm taking this series to go 5. I think you're going to see a pretty competitive series.
Agreed.
And the other thing
you've got the night air there on the West Coast for your unders. I love
It's going to be 3-2, 4-2, stuff like that. I got to like the unders.
And the other big thing is, Urias, as good as he is, you only see him go 5 innings most of the time. That means the Dodgers are going to have to cover those other 4 innings. Because Dave Roberts doesn't seem to let him throw more than that.
Dodgers have a lot of pitchers that aren't super efficient, that average somewhere in the neighborhood of 17, 18 pitches an inning. It's just not good. That's the way Scherzer was last night. He was pretty much at 18, 19 pitches all the way through. And this is why you got part of why you got pulled in the fifth. Were you guys surprised that the leading winner in the NL had 16 wins? Are 20-game winners going to be a thing of the past?
Wait, didn't Urias have 20?
Yeah, Urias had 20. He was 20.
20?
Yeah,
Was on the American League side?
That
probably the
could
American
be
League
true.
side.
Yeah.
All right.
The NL was definitely Urias because he had 19. I believe he finally got to 20 at the end.
Yeah, he was sitting at 19 for all. You're right. So it had to be in the American League then, right?
Yeah.
So is that a trend? Is that going to be a thing that's going to be pretty much accepted and normal going forward?
Well, it goes down to our management, doesn't it? Because if the pitchers are going to go less innings, then you have less chances for your team to gain a lead while you're in the game. So I think that's going to continue if pitchers are no longer really going north of 100 pitches. If they're going to be going 6 innings tops or even 5 innings tops in some spots, you're going to see less wins because you have less time for your team's offense to score enough to give you a lead.
Well, what's wrong with the pitchers these days? Because you read about all the stuff they're doing.
Back in my day, pitchers used to go complete game shutouts.
You know what? That's exactly right. I mean, there was in my lifetime when I could drive a car, pitchers were still throwing 20 complete games a season. What happened?
I'd say science or however you want to phrase it decided it's better to save their arms.
But you have more arm problems now.
Well, we've talked about this in the past. It mostly involves the increase in velocity when it comes to pitches because
just more torque on the elbow, just more strain on the parts. Is that the deal? These guys are just bigger and stronger, and they're just maxing out those joints.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Okay.
It's just like when the split finger came out in the 80s and everybody started ripping up their elbows trying to throw that. I mean, that's what derailed Mike Scott's career. I'm sure you remember him, Scott.
Sure,
for the Astros in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that became the fad, then we started seeing a rash of injuries, and then after that, managers started realizing, we shouldn't throw these guys that much, and now it's gotten to the point where you're basically wrapping them in
bubble wrap
tissue and putting them up on a shelf for 4 days.
Yeah,
you unwrap them and bring them back out.
You got just about everybody carrying 13 pitchers, and I know there's some managers at some point this season carried 14, and that's crazy.
Yeah, you get a lot of vulture wins that way. You see these guys come in and get one out, and
no question,
a record.
No question. All right, so you like the Giants just for the price there. Probably think it's like us. It's probably close to an even series.
Oh yeah, you have to lean with the Giants with the way the odds are right now, and especially with them having home field advantage.
Braves-Brewers with Brewers, of course, with the home field advantage there. Brewers minus 144, Braves plus 124. My first thought would be see if you can find a dime line on that somewhere, but I digress.
I'm looking at the Brewers, but I think it's going to be a close series, but I just have so many questions about Atlanta's pitching. And I think that if you're looking at the bullpen, I know that Williams is out for Milwaukee. They still got Hader, who might be the best closer in the entire league. Right. I'm not a Will Smith guy. Pretty good actor. For a pitcher, not that great. But I think that you're looking at the rest of the team. The rotation just doesn't really have it for me. Milwaukee's got so many guys who can give you quality outings, and Atlanta has Fried and a little bit of Charlie Morton. That's basically it, isn't it?
Well, they got Ian Anderson too, and on the Milwaukee side, yeah, you've got Corbin Burns, you've got Brandon Woodruff,
Peralta,
you got Freddie Peralta. But what have those guys done in the postseason?
Well, I'm looking at Anderson, and I know that he was okay last year, but this season has been a bit of a down, injury-riddled year for Anderson. So, once again, I go back to the two guys for Atlanta. That's basically it, isn't it, for that rotation? Unless you think Anderson pitches well, he really hasn't shown much in the regular season this year.
By the same token, Woodruff's fallen apart in the second half of the season, too, for Milwaukee. He's nothing like he was before the All-Star game.
No, he set the bar really, really high before the All-Star game, but that is true. Yeah, it definitely has been worse in the second half.
You're not in on Touki Toussaint?
I like Toussaint as a pitcher because he tries to be Johnny Cueto, but I don't trust him.
Is he hurt now? I haven't seen him making a start in a while. Is he hurt or just relegated to the pen?
I think he might have gotten injured and they might have relegated him after that. But I know that they've been using Yanoa for a decent amount, who I actually think is decent. Yeah. But I just think Milwaukee's got the better pitching. And the offense, I will concede that Atlanta's got the better offense. I would probably take Atlanta if Acuna was healthy, but he's not. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I think they'll do enough to win at least to win 3 games in the series.
Chris, what do you got?
I'm going to go the other way. I mean, if you look at the offensive disparity, Atlanta, you picked up Jorge Soler, you picked up Adam Duvall. They both hit 12 homers after being picked up. It's the only time you've seen a team pick up 2 guys that hit more than a dozen homers at the trade deadline for their new team. Then you throw in Ozzie Albies, you got Freddie Freeman, you got all those guys. Who's Milwaukee got? Christian Yelich hasn't looked good since he won the MVP 2 years ago. Lorenzo Cain has been terrible. I'm not sold on the Brewers at all. And it's not just because they're an NL Central team. They can pitch, but they can't hit. And if you can't hit, you aren't going to win. And I think Atlanta's going to get just enough pitching to get by in this series.
That's kind of the argument that's why I think it's going to be close, because one team's great at pitching, the other team's great at hitting. Something's got to give. We're not sure which side's going to give first, but I think it will be a very competitive series. I do think the home field matters a little bit, so I'll go with Milwaukee. But you can really make a case either way that the value's with Atlanta.
Has there ever been anyone having a more MVP quality season than Austin Riley that gets mentioned? Not at all.
I'm a huge Riley guy. I think Riley's fantastic.
But we're running through the players for Atlanta. We're doing the same thing. You've got the outfielders. You got Freddie Freeman. Acuna's hurt. How about the guy that's been the straw that stirs the drink all season long? It's the kid, the third baseman, a position that was they didn't know what they were going to do coming into the season, and I think he's been a pretty pleasant surprise. No,
I think the average has been a surprise. We knew that he had a lot of power and he could drive guys in. The average was the question mark with Riley, and he's been very, very efficient.
Yeah, he's led the team in RBIs, led the team in home runs. I like this Atlanta team. I think you're getting good value there at plus 124. I think it's a game. I think it's a series, like you said, Scott. Milwaukee probably should be a small favorite just because they do have the better pitching and the home field advantage. But I think that is a very live dog team there in the Atlanta Braves.
I think it goes 5.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be good. Red Sox Rays minus 169. Red Sox plus 149. Chris, any value on the Red Sox there?
It's really hard to say. I mean, you've seen Boston. They've been so up and down this season.
That bullpen, though?
Yeah, the bullpen is, let's face it, the only reason Boston clinched a wild card spot on Sunday was because Washington gifted it to them. Otherwise, we could be talking about the Toronto Blue Jays in the playoffs.
Right, which I'd love to see the Blue Jays and the Rays, by the way.
But I'm not overly sold on Boston. They've had so many injuries. They've had so many inconsistencies. How much does Chris Sale have at this point? Because he's really going to be the anchor in that rotation. You can't trust Nick Pivetta. I
know Scott never does.
I never do.
Eovaldi, he was okay yesterday or in the wild card game, but he wasn't spectacular. And the bullpen is terrible. Yeah. Tampa Bay, they'll roll out 37 pitchers in a game, and it doesn't make a difference.
It's amazing. It's just they just I think they have a factory down there. They just bring in these guys. Who? Yeah, don't worry about it. He's going to pitch 3 scoreless innings. All right, fair enough.
Well, if we're talking about value in the series, just a quick question: is there food for thought? Is there automatically value on the underdog if you have 2 division rivals who have faced each other 19 times the regular season, facing off for a 5-game playoff?
I think there almost has to be. I think there almost has to be. Having said that,
I'm taking Tampa anyway, but I am asking if these teams are so familiar with each other, you can make a case that with the familiarity, there might be a little bit of value on Boston.
Yeah,
you can make a case.
What was the season series? Anybody got in front of them?
Let me pull that up right now. But I know that Tampa didn't blow them out of the water. It wasn't like it was 14-5 or anything. Right. But to go through the 19 games, Tampa ended up leading
11-8.
11-8. So it was close. I mean, Tampa ended up winning, but I do think Boston will win a game. I don't think they're getting swept. I'm still taking Tampa, but I'll take Tampa in 4.
So 11-8 would translate to what, about minus 130 or so?
Give or take, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I think Tampa's going to win the series. I think Tampa's going to the World Series. I think this team's arguably the best team in the league. But Boston, I can't get past the rotation and the bullpen. Tampa just invents ways to just generate runs while pitching gems, and I think that's going to be too much for Boston to handle.
You the
But the
same way,
interesting
Chris?
thing about that series too is it was 11-8, but the average total in those games was over 11 because the Tampa Bay outscored Boston 106-104 in those 19 games.
Mashing.
So you're
So
looking at
I like the over,
a lot of
but
overs potentially there.
I
Even
said that
minus a
yesterday.
drop.
Total is 7.5 with McClanahan against Rodriguez for this game, for game one. I just think conceptually that's too low. But
Definitely. I mean, Erod has been better on the road than he was at Fenway, which works to his favor here. But still, he was not the pitcher he was in 2019. I think taking last year off kind of impacted him.
mm,
White Sox, Astros. Astros minus 136. White Sox plus 116. Chris, go ahead.
This is going to be an interesting series. I mean, Houston left Odorizzi off their ALDS roster. Dallas Keuchel won't be pitching for the White Sox in this series. The big key is going to be for Chicago. What are they going to get out of their rotation? Carlos
Yeah.
Rodon has thrown 28 innings since August. They had nothing to play for over the last 2 months because they were so far ahead in the AL Central. Jose Abreu is a game-time decision tonight. That could really impact the White Sox as well. I think this is going to be probably a 4 or 5 game series. I just don't know if the White Sox youth can overcome the experience that Houston brings to the table, having been to the playoffs, 4 or 5 years in a row now.
Love Houston in this spot. Scott, what do you got?
I like Houston for all the things that Chris said, but on top of that, I have issues trusting La Russa. Now, I'm not a big Dusty Baker guy. I know his playoff teams have had a history of imploding, but La Russa, maybe it's just me, but I'm sure we'd all agree. I don't think the players really like him that much, and I don't think he's done a great job with handling personnel. I don't know if I really trust him in his first playoff series in 10, 15 years?
It's ironic that the favorite I like the most is the one that's most reasonably priced.
I gotta like Houston here, especially with the home field. I just think Houston's gonna win the series.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the White Sox might steal one.
I said game 3 at home.
I think that Giolito could get the upper hand tomorrow just because I haven't been sold on Valdez down the stretch. But that's going to come out whether the White Sox bullpen can hold up.
See, I'm looking at another pitcher. I'm looking at fading Greinke because he's been an absolute mess for the last month and a half. So I think the White Sox might take a game off him, maybe game 3. But other than that, I'm seeing a couple of games where the White Sox might be winning. You bring in Kimbrel for the 8th, and then suddenly you're no longer winning. So we'll see what happens.
Well, see, I had understood that they were talking about that Greinke was going to come out of the bullpen since he had just come off the IL.
He should come out of the bullpen anyway because starting-wise, he was miserable for the last month and change.
Yeah, very good. All right, shifting gears. Got some football tonight. Temple, Cincinnati, one of those games. Cincinnati absolutely has to not only win, but has to win convincingly. The spread, of course, reflects that. Cincinnati by 29, 54 is your total.
Shout out to Temple, by the way, for beating Memphis.
Yeah. Memphis, PS, not very good.
Mm.
Chris, Cincinnati roll them up there, or Temple get the late cover?
I don't think that Temple has the weapons to keep up with Cincinnati. Luke Fickell's defense is very good. We saw him stifle Notre Dame on the road. Sure, some of that might have been that Jack Cohn was injured and didn't look himself. But when you go into South Bend and you beat Notre Dame, you can't take that away from anybody.
Right.
I think Cincinnati is going to win this game, and they're going to win it convincingly.
Does it make a difference that it's on national TV?
No, because they were on national TV last week. I'll be on NBC.
I understand that, but does this make a difference when it comes to running up the score and leaving Ritter in there longer than they might normally do? Does style points count when everybody's looking at it?
Style points count just because that seems to be what impacts the voters. But
right,
I think that Fickell, once he's got the game in hand, I'd like to think he'll get Ritter out of there just because he doesn't want to run the risk of having him get injured. But either way, I think Cincinnati is going to win probably 5 touchdowns and cover this line.
Stanford, Arizona State, couple of psycho teams, Chris. Stanford, much better team here lately with the new quarterback. Arizona State, chugging along. We hate them. All they do is win. They're 4-1 on the season. 13-point favorite. It's gone from 9.5 to 13. Arizona State money has just come screaming in. Do you agree with the move there?
I actually don't. I mean, sure, Jaden Daniels and everybody is back. Arizona State, they've beaten a bunch of teams by 3 scores. Who have they beaten?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm totally
They
with
beat
you.
UCLA, but that's basically it.
Yep, that's
So again, who have they beaten?
Scott. What do you think? What do you think about this one?
I think the spread's too high.
Yeah, grab the 13 and call it good. I think 9.5 is closer to the right number, and I'm not even sure that wasn't too high.
I mean,
Yeah,
UCLA's
I think maybe
defense
7 would be right.
Yeah, UCLA's defense is atrocious. So I know Arizona State's offense looked better than probably people thought going into last week, but against most teams, I'm not sure if Arizona State's going to score enough to actually win this game by multiple touchdowns. I think this game finishes 10 points, give or take. I'd look at the Cardinal.
Yeah, and as we record this again, it's a little early as we're talking to Chris. It's Thursday afternoon, and the game's not going till Friday evening. But keep an eye on that number. It's possible you may be able to grab a 14 there because it's already DraftKings already has it at 13.5. Pinnacle has it at 13.5. It seems to be trending. It seems that there's still money coming in on Arizona State. So hang tight. You may catch yourself 14 if you keep an eye on it. You got multiple books you can choose from. All right, Chris, in a little bit of time we've got left here, let's go through real quick the Saturday card and the NFL card. We'll do a little segment we call Snap Cap. Give me your 2 favorite NCAA plays. Give me 1 sentence why, and do the same with the NFL. Starting with college. Go.
I think, and this is going to be a weird one, as much as neither one of these teams look good, I like Duke with the points at home against Georgia Tech. When you give up 52 to Pitt, you don't look impressive. Duke's at home. That's enough for me.
What's the number on that?
Georgia Tech is actually giving 3.5 points on the road, which makes no sense at all.
All right, good enough. And give me another one in the college ranks.
The other one in the college ranks is going to be one of those games that nobody really talks about, and that's Akron and Bowling Green.
Okay.
And, Bowling Green's the only team that's 5-0 against the spread. They're also the only team one of the only teams that's 5-0 that's gone under the number. Akron can't score. Akron can't move the ball. Bowling Green's not great, but they're going to win this game by double digits, and it's probably still going to fall under the number that I believe is in the mid-40s.
Okay. Very good. Moving on to the pros. Give me 2 in the NFL, and then I'll get your prediction from the Kansas City Buffalo game. So don't make that game one of your 2. Give me 2 others.
Tampa Bay over Miami. Tampa Bay struggled last week. I think some of it was the weather. I think they missed Gronkowski, but Miami's a train wreck. You can't trust Miami. They lost at home to the Colts. They're going on the road here. It's going to be ugly.
Okay.
The other one has got to be, oh boy. I'm going to say this with a caveat that I'm assuming that Julio Jones or A.J. Brown back this week, or that Todd Downing realizes that if they don't play, he shouldn't throw the ball 45 times. But I'm going to take Tennessee on the road against Jacksonville because Jacksonville, well, Urban Meyer needs to figure out if he's coaching a football team or if he's trying to win a bar league because his team is a train wreck. Trevor Lawrence has got some learning to do, and the Jaguars just aren't good, even at home.
Do you expect that game to be a bit of a grind?
I think so. I think that, especially if Tennessee adjusts from last week against the Jets, Derrick Henry could get one of those old school days where you see him touch the ball 40, 45 times.
That was an Urban Meyer Bard joke, but that just went right over your head.
That's all right.
Okay, cool.
All right, and the big game of the night is going to be the Chiefs and the Bills, a rematch of the AFC Championship game last year. Chiefs small favorite in this one. Wrong team favored?
This is a tough one because as much as I am a Bills fan and I don't like the Chiefs, obviously.
Why is that obvious? Just because you can't beat us?
Well, it's not even so much that. If you remember, the reason why Patrick Mahomes fell to Kansas City in the first place was a trade that they made with Buffalo to move up to 10. Buffalo got Tre'Davious White in that deal, and the Chiefs picked Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. How'd that work out?
It didn't really. It's not like it worked out badly for Buffalo. I mean, White's an all-pro corner. You can't go wrong with that. The big difference in this game here is defenses. Kansas City's 31st in the league. You've said it before. They let teams go up and down the field because they score so quickly that they get worn out. Buffalo leads the league in takeaways. They're sixth in the league in sacks. They stop the run now with the return of Star Latulelele. It's something that's overlooked because when he wasn't there last year, that helped Kansas City run for 226, I believe, on Monday night.
Yep.
Rousseau is also pretty good on the defensive line.
Gashed him in the drizzle.
Yeah, I remember that. And, Buffalo, the continuity, they have momentum, and they're motivated, and that's the big thing. This may not mean anything to the Chiefs because eventually they'll probably still end up winning the AFC West anyway. It means something to Buffalo because they want to prove that they are the better team or one of the best teams in the AFC. And like I've said before, as Ric Flair says, the man, you've got to beat the man. And right now in the AFC, Kansas City's the man. And
right.
To go back to the Clash of the Champions in 1988, Ric Flair was the man. Sting was the man trying to beat the man. And I think in this case, the Bills are going to win a close one. It's going to be one of those games that goes right down to the wire.
Bills on the money line then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to put your feet to the fire. Would you rather have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen? Say it, Bills fan.
Pick the obvious answer. Come on.
Just say it.
We already know. It's fine.
And what's the obvious answer?
You take Mahomes. I mean, it's the obvious answer. Just take Mahomes.
But now here's the question.
Oh, boy.
Would Patrick Mahomes do the same things in Buffalo that he does in Kansas City, or is it because of the guys around him?
Could be. I'm just looking at it for what I've seen. I think Allen's a very, very good player, but I'm taking Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is the most talented quarterback I've ever seen.
He'd do the same thing wherever he is. He'd make those throws wherever he is.
But would anybody catch them? If you put him in Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, I hear everybody talking about how good Trey Diggs is and Cole Beasley is. So,
you mean
Stephon Diggs?
To hear the Buffalo fans say it, they're just as good as any receivers the Chiefs have.
I think you mean Stephon Diggs instead of Trey Diggs. But
I'm not Trey Diggs, Stephon Diggs. Sorry, got my Diggs mixed.
Trey Diggs though, pretty good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I will agree with that. He is pretty good. I would have liked to have seen Buffalo draft him, but didn't work out that way.
So just say Mahomes so we can get out of here.
No, I'm going to be contrarian.
Okay.
I'm going to say Allen, just because of the fact that with his size, he can make some plays that Mahomes might not be able to make. If it's 4th and 1 and you're trying to go up the middle, you saw what happened to Mahomes on Monday night last year against Denver when he tried that.
It was last year.
Dislocated his knee.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago? Yeah. But dislocated his knee.
First injury I've ever seen on a quarterback sneak ever, by the way.
Well, there you go. First time for everything.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're really going to take Josh Allen.
Some of it's holistic, but some of it is I've watched Allen make plays that other guys don't make.
I respect the fact you're being a homer. I'll respect.
He can still show his face in the anchor bar, folks. Mm-hmm. There you go. He's the he doesn't look happy with his decision, but he did it. He did it. He took one for the Buffalo Bills right there. Josh Allen.
I mean, you can't argue with the numbers he's put up.
Fair enough. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. Hey, he's the king of sports betting. It's Chris King, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Chris. We will, as always, had a blast.
Glad to be here, Scott. You too, Scott.
All right. And, Scott, don't you go anywhere. And for the rest of you, don't go anywhere. Scott and I are going to be back and break down tonight's card and share our Bet the Farm play. Get ready to get on your tractor and have that pick. You guys take care, and we'll be right back on the other side. All right, everybody, welcome back. That was Chris King, very good guy.
Yep,
got he fits right in with us. Got a good face for radio.
I don't agree with his Josh Allen take over Patrick Mahomes, but we can talk about that another time.
I felt like it was close. I felt like it was, but then it seemed like he
stayed true to himself, and I respect that, but a little bit blind.
He wanted to show his face in Buffalo at some time in the future. So, yeah, thanks very much, buddy. All right, Scott. Well, we've got some games to break down. We talked a little bit about the college slate, and, of course, you and I will be doing our entire college show here. It'll be dropping later on Friday as we go down in each of the top 25 schools. We give you our opinion on their games. Spoiler alert, Scott, I still suck at sides and absolutely rule at totals.
I think I was the opposite. I think I was good at sides last week and bad at totals. I think.
Yep. Yeah, I was exactly 500. So yeah, we'll talk about that more in the video. But it's kind of fascinating. So that being said, any final thoughts on the college games? Anything that you really like that you feel like is a kind of a must bet?
For me, I think that the Temple Cincinnati game's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of wondering if that spread is too high, but we'll see when Cincinnati decides to call off the dogs, because they're going to at some point. It's a matter of when. So that might be a backdoor issue. But the Stanford-Arizona State game, I'll look at Stanford, but I don't really have any great opinions on that game. I like Charlotte, though, tomorrow. I had money on Charlotte in the college football show from last week, and they ended up covering against Illinois as an underdog. They're favored, but Florida International just is not a very good football team.
FIU, no bueno, sir.
And I like Reynolds as a quarterback for Charlotte. So I think Charlotte probably wins that game by a touchdown.
Okay. All right. Very good. That's a solid play, because we didn't really talk much about that one.
Yeah.
We kind of kept with the more mainstream games featuring the top 25 teams there in Arizona State and Cincinnati. So excited to see Cincinnati play. I like watching that team play.
Yeah, so do I.
Good defense. Good defense. Cincinnati better than Coastal?
Yeah.
Think so? Okay.
Personally, yeah. I don't think it's very close. I think it's the defense that takes it away. The offense, you can make an argument that Coastal is going to put up huge numbers because they've played Kansas, UL Monroe, UMass, and Arkansas State. They still have a very good offense anyway.
Yep.
But Cincinnati moved the ball pretty well against Notre Dame for a decent amount of that game. I just think that Coastal is a little bit too finesse for me. I think Cincinnati can just absolutely pound it if they need to.
Okay. I'd like to see some sort of round robin play-in situation with, I don't know, who you want to see. Coastal, BYU, Cincinnati, Liberty.
You kind of need Liberty lost to Syracuse, so they wouldn't be in it for this year. But yeah, just top 2, group of 5, top 3. Yeah, at a Cinderella berth.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. So, Scott, we have the ideas to fix everything, and nobody listens to us. It's
Yep.
Very, very frustrating. So let's switch gears. We'll talk a little baseball with Chris. We talked about some series prices. So let's talk about some of these individual games tonight. Now, we've got one of the most intriguing matchups, Scott, because it's kind of like a box of chocolates. I don't know what we're going to get here as Chris Sale goes up against the rookie Shane Baz. Shane Baz has been very good. Scott made 3 starts, and he has been pretty fantastic up till this point. 2.03 ERA, a .67 whip, my friend. Is he the real deal, or are the bright lights of the playoffs going to bring him back to earth?
I assume every prospect Tampa calls up before a playoff run is the real deal.
Right.
So, yeah, I think he's pretty good. Of course, Sale's got the pedigree, but he's also had injury issues throughout the entire year. He's not the same guy he used to be. At the end of the day, looking at this matchup quickly, I said Tampa's going to the World Series. I think they are by far the best team in the American League. Boston had nothing in Game 1. They actually scored nothing in Game 1. I'm taking Tampa in the Trop. I just think that even if Sale pitches well, it'll be a war. And in the later innings, Tampa's going to generate more chances than Boston against the bullpen. Sale's not the same guy who gives you 7-8 innings. It's just not him anymore. He's probably going to go 5 or 6.
So is there value, number one, there's no value at all about taking Sale at a plus price?
I think if you want the value with Sale, you could take a team total under, or you can take Sale first 5. But once again, I want nothing to do with Boston's bullpen.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think first 5 would probably be the play there. I just don't know about laying 130 with the rookie. I mean, I know he's good. I know he was their top prospect when they brought him.
I agree. I think that Baz is definitely a gamble, but I do think that if it's close after 5 or 6, I don't trust Brasier and all these and Hanzo Robles and company to shut the door.
Okay. All right, very good. That's I think that's solid. You got a hunch on the total there?
I got to go with the under. I mean, you've had several playoff games. Every game's gone under. I can't take an over.
Oh, that's an interesting strategy.
I'm gonna ride the under train until it loses.
All right. Well,
don't you kind of have to? You've had 4 games already. They've all gone under.
Does that really matter to you?
I think it does. If you think that playoff baseball is different than regular season baseball, I know that happened in March Madness. You had the first half unders, which were ridiculously hot for the first round, which I think hit it like 80-something%.
But that has a lot to do with shooting in those big arenas.
Yeah, that's neutrals. I get it. But I'm saying is the environment's different. There's some nerves involved. I'm going to back it until it loses.
You can tell it's the playoff because Tampa will have like 18,000 people there.
Pretty much, which is basically a record for the.
It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey, speaking of unders, how about Charlie Morton and Corbin Burns as they square off up there in Miller Park? This has been nothing but Milwaukee money coming in here, brother. Opened up at minus 135. Now pretty much 150, 155. You can still find some 45s at some places, but it looks like the Brewers are taking the money in this one. 7 is your total, and it's juiced to the over, Scott. So,
well, it's a flat 7, so you got to juice it over in case there's a 3-3 extra inning draw.
I'm just saying, if you like playing the under,
first 5,
patient. You're going to get 7.5 there. Charlie Morton, you sold? You buying or selling on Charlie Morton?
Very good big game pitcher. But, of course, Burns is an animal. I think that this line's too high, though. Now, I picked Milwaukee to win the series. I think it's going 5. But I can't lay 150 here. It's either Atlanta or pass for me. I think Morton is decent enough to hold the zone, keep it close, and Milwaukee is no setup guy. So you have to get to Hader. I'm not sure if they're going to, but I think Atlanta keeps this close. You?
Yeah, I've been on Burns all season. He's been okay lately. Kind of got lit up by the Dodgers his last time out, but
if it was 130, I'd like Milwaukee, but it's 150. I can't lay that.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't bet the run line with Milwaukee. I don't have that much confidence in him to score a ton of runs, especially with a total of 7.
Well, you know that Morton's a playoff guy. People know that he's a good performer in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's not. The stage is not going to be too big for him, and he's thrown his last 2 starts. He's gone 9 2/3 no earned runs and just 4 hits. So
I think he's alive.
He's certainly in good form here. Braves are definitely live. And let's finish it up with the last game on the board as we have all 4 teams in action tomorrow. Scott, this is going to be the late one. Walker Buehler and Logan Webb as the Dodgers go against the Giants. Dodgers, road favorites right here, opened up at minus 135.
They're going to be favored in every game.
They're barely going to be favored in this one. We'll see how the trend continues. Opened up at minus 135, now about minus 117 as Giants money has come in on Logan Webb and the Gigantes. Giants still getting no respect, Scott?
I have to like the Giants. I know the Dodgers are the more talented team. Giants still won more games in the regular season, man.
I feel like we've said this 107 times this season, Scott. Well,
if you're going to give me plus money with an 107 win team, I'm taking the plus money.
I think you have to. I think that's just for it's just almost ought to be a rule, and Webb has been fine. He's faded a little down the stretch, but he's had a very good season.
He's faded. The Giants win whenever he pitches.
That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. They pitch up to the competition whenever he pitches. So very good. All right, man. Well, that's going to do it for the show today, Scott. Whoops, a little premature there. Sorry, buddy. We have just one thing to talk about, and that is the play where we put our heads together. We look at the entire card. We look at the weekend card, and we come up with our very favorite play. If you're only going to listen to the show one day a week, listen to it on Friday, kids. Get that straw hat on. Climb on that tractor, because it's time for Bet the Farm. Scott, can we give them a little inside baseball that you and I send each other that noise whenever we hit the play, whenever it goes official?
Yes, we do.
Send it on our phone. Absolutely true. All right. How'd we do yesterday?
We had Coastal Carolina winning by a lot, and they won by a lot.
I'm thinking about getting a straw hat and a corncob pipe to put in my mouth every time we play that music.
We can.
Like dance around. So
if it's in the budget, we can get it.
If I bought one for you and sent it to you, would you wear it?
Yeah, why not?
I'd love to see you in like a hillbilly straw hat. Next time I'm down in the Ozarks, I'll pick some up.
Cool. Let me know.
All right, very good. Hey, we got one cooked up for today. Scott, what is it?
So in baseball, we did not mention one game, and it's the early game. We like the Astros on the money line at around minus 118 offshore in game 2 against the White Sox. Houston been great at home, 52-30, including the playoff game yesterday at home this season. Meanwhile, the White Sox losing record on the road. They've lost 42 of their first 82 road games. Houston also has been really good in the head-to-head, won 6 of the 8 meetings. They've also faced off 5 times, including yesterday in Minute Maid Park. Houston 5-0. So we think that Houston, after winning yesterday, they're the much better team. They should dominate at home once again. The White Sox, we thought, would struggle in this series. We think they fall down 2-0.
Absolutely true. We like this Houston team quite a bit. Again, I'm trying not to let the fact that I have a Houston futures to win the American League kind of color my judgment. But you and I have been not excited about this White Sox team. They just kind of fucked around for the last 6 weeks of the season. They didn't even do anything, and they
looked like it for the first 7 innings of yesterday's game.
Yeah, it absolutely did. They're looking like they're trying to find the switch to hit and turn on everything, and they couldn't find it. I think that continues. I think Houston takes care of business in the series. I think they take care of business in this one. So it's going to do it for the show. It's going to do it for Bet the Farm. Special thanks to Chris King once again for stopping by. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate all you people out there doing your thing too, listening to us, watching us, whatever it is. If you're listening to us on podcast, don't forget to rate and review. If you're watching the video, don't forget to drop us a comment, like, and subscribe. I think that's going to do it for the housekeeping, for myself, for Scott Reichel, for the whole team over here at winnersandwhiners.com. We appreciate you. You guys take care. Good luck today. And we'll see you next time on Winners and Whiners Radio. Take care, everybody.